You and I have talked about the US Treaty of Amity, and I think it's very interesting. You said your company is registered?
Yeah, I treaty certified out here years ago. Yeah,
So
I love the treaty.
Why did you decide to go that way?
Because I could own it.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, wait, look, Thailand and the U.S., it's like Thailand just fit me like a glove because I got out here in 2008 and it was still like it was like 1988. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Thailand and the U.S.'s diplomatic relationship goes back now 191 years. We've been in contact with each other for over 200. So 191 years, we've had some iteration of what now is called the Treaty of Amity. The latest iteration was ratified in 1966. Under the provisions of the Treaty of Amity, it stipulates that notwithstanding the fact that a company has to abide by the Foreign Business Act, if said company is determined to be an American company, then it's granted national treatment. So it's just treated as if it's a Thai company. So we can own our companies 100% if they're Amity certified. Okay. On top of that, I discovered this about 6-7 years ago. And this, to my mind, is like it's like, what's that line from Seinfeld where he says it's like discovering plutonium by accident? You know, on top of it, when Trump in the first term created Trump tax, part of what they created under that was something called, they created specific scrutiny and specific provisions for what were called controlled foreign corporations. Now, everybody else and their dog in the tax world ran off and tried to figure out how to make like one share control a company so that they could mess with the control. I didn't really go that route. I was like, well, what's foreign? What does foreign mean? So I went and looked it up. And in our tax code, it says a foreign corporation is not domestic. So what's domestic? Domestic says any company created or organized under U.S. law. Now, pursuant to Article 6 of the Constitution, the Supremacy Clause, when the Treaty of Amity was ratified by 2/3 of the Senate in 1966, it became the supreme law of the land of the United States. Treaties are higher level law than even statutory law. Because it's done through the president and the Senate, it's a different process. It's with a foreign nation. It's viewed as higher up. So it's covered under the Supremacy Clause. So I go back and say, well, all of these companies have to at least be organized under U.S. law because otherwise they'd have to abide by the Foreign Business Act and they couldn't be 100% American-owned to begin with.
Right.
So that makes them domestic. So then I go over to the double tax treaty between us and the Thais, and under that thing it says non-resident corporations are the corporations of any of the two contracting parties that do not do any business within the jurisdiction of the other party. So i.e., they have no branch, they have no subsidiary, nothing. They're only doing business in the jurisdiction of the other contracting party. They're not having any business done within the United States.
Okay.
So that makes them a domestic, non-resident corporation of the United States. Non-resident corporations are affirmatively forestalled from being taxed under a treaty we ourselves signed, and these companies are domestic by the terms of a treaty we ourselves signed. We created a massive, what some would call a loophole. It's not a loophole. It's just a legal fact that these are domestic non-resident corporations of the United States. What's that mean? They just fall completely outside of their purview. They're nothing. As long as they're not doing business in the U.S., they're nothing. It's another reason I think that they may have created the DTV, because if you come under one of these and you have an Amity company, I don't know that anybody tax-wise from over there is ever going to be able to come after the company. Now, there's a very big difference between the individual American and one of these corporate structures. And again, I'm not going to go into any further real deep legal analysis, but the thing to understand here, these are really special. We get benefits that no other nationality gets out here, and under many circumstances, you may be in a position where you're better positioned vis-a-vis the U.S. taxman.
Wow, that's so interesting. So would you say, is there any circumstance that a U.S. citizen that's working and doing business in Thailand, and let's say not 100% Thailand, I think a lot of companies will primarily work here, but maybe they'll work with Australians or whatever, or they'll have some other stuff going on. Would it mostly make sense, or in most cases make sense, for them to consider a U.S. Treaty of Amity company as opposed to something like BOI?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's
BOI's, and I have no issue with BOI, don't get me wrong, but BOI has a lot of administrative oversight.
Right.
They're constantly looking at you, especially if you get tax concessions, as like, what exactly are you doing? What exactly are you invoicing? because they want their money in the tax context. With Amity, it's a different process. It's a different crew.
Yeah, and that brings up things I've seen with BOI companies here is it seems like the pendulum goes back and forth too, where they'll crack down a lot more on BOI companies because they'll not crack down. That's the wrong way to put it. But I would say that they
scrutiny.
There's more scrutiny. Yeah. I think some of the TISO categories I've seen more demands out of them. I don't know. So it seems like it's changing a lot.
Well, but remember that the concessions on some of those are huge.
Yeah.
It's not like scrutiny apropos of nothing.
No, of course.
Yeah, no. And no, Amity is just a different thing. It's actually, I wouldn't even hardly compare it to BOI because really all that the Amity company is getting is an Amity certificate, which is semi-analogous to a foreign business certificate by BOI. Now, BOI has the option to give umpteen bajillion other types of concessions. Amity is just, I can own it.
If you enjoyed this clip and want to watch more like it, click here. And if you want to watch the full video, click here.